Hello, listeners, and welcome to Not the Phil Howard Show. I am not Phil Howard. My name is Chris. I'm the actor who portrays Phil Howard on the Phil Howard Late Show. And joining me are the two producers as co-hosts for this. And then we're going to talk about the Phil Howard Late Show. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Tommy Neen, and I play Jack McKinsey, and I'm also the writer of the podcast. And not next to me is
Dylan Wylie, the producer of the Phil Howard Late Show, and also co-founder, along with the incredible Mr. Tommy Neen, of our production company, Wayward Station Limited. I basically handle all the boring stuff, all the organisation, contracts, talent onboarding, payments, keeping everything running and going, everything that keeps Tommy happy.
He's also a massive kiss ass, if anybody hasn't noticed.
Play the man, not the...
And so how did all of this come about? How did you guys get involved? Start with making the Phil Howard Late Show.
A complete and total horrible accident that neither of us have recovered from.
Still haven't, yeah.
No, this was basically a friend of mine came to me originally and said, hey, do you want to do something? The thing was the operative word. Because I already had kind of the idea for a horror podcast that I sort of had a couple of scripts knocking about for, so we just decided we were going to do this, and then we put out a call for producers, and Dylan got involved. And, you know, I'd seen he'd done a few things before, which were kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely have a background in sort of similar media. I made a short horror film called He'll Have to Go, which won the finalist award at the Student World Impact Film Festival. And I just genuinely, as I'm sure you guys are, obsessed with horror.
Yep. No, actually, I hate horror. It's
Somewhat.
Can't get my head around that. I just want to watch Disney.
And what's it been like making the show? How does it all come about?
Oh, well, I mean, we obviously there's the writing phase, which is just a caffeine-filled haze of Lovecraftian horror. And actually, that's the thing.
Is that in the caffeine, or is that stuff that comes out of the writing session?
I look into the darkness of the beans and see nothing but the abyss. But like, actually, I did want to say the Phil Howard Late Show is a direct reference to Howard Phillips Lovecraft. We've just literally switched the names around.
Very good.
I write the scripts, and then me and Dylan sit down and listen to auditions.
Yes, we were very lucky to get such an influx of auditions to go through. So many people wanted to be a part of this incredible project. And so what sort of typically happens is I would sort of listen to all of them and then send sort of the best ones to Tommy, who then decides who gets to be who.
Yeah, I mean, we got really, really lucky with this cast, actually. I got to say, like, for all the episodes we've done, but like the first one, we had Helen Fullerton, who plays Jenny Smith, and Anna Dobraki. I hope I have pronounced that right.
You just butchered it.
Yeah,
she hates us now.
But she plays Amelia Jackson
podcast, so
in it.
Butchering's appropriate.
He's got jokes. But like, no, those two were phenomenal throughout. Like, I think we mentioned it, or I've told you guys about this before, but like, Helen basically did her entire scene in one take, which has now become a kind of in-joke in the cast, is that if you do it in one take, it's called doing a Helen. And then Anna, we played around with that role a little bit more, because what her character's going through is quite complicated. I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't actually heard episode 1, although if you're listening to 1.5, why?
This is a breakdown of episode 1, so if you haven't already, I would recommend going and listening to episode 1.
Yeah, spoilers for episode 1 in episode 1.5. But like, no, because obviously in the show, her character kills her husband and son, and we went through that scene a few times, getting different reactions and different ways of playing it, and yeah, came out the other end with what I thought was absolute gold on her part.
Well, I do have this. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say on her part it's absolute gold. On my part, it's just a terrible Irish accent.
Yeah, don't I know it?
I'm so sorry, Dylan. I'm so sorry, Dylan. How did that Irish accent make you feel?
Oh, I can't even listen to the first episode anymore. It's just such overwhelming sadness.
Show us on the dial where the accent takes you.
Yeah,
and going back to the performances, I will say that I did feel that both the interview scenes were absolute standouts. So incredible to hear that one of them was nailed in one take.
Yeah, that was insane. Although I got to say, you do a wonderful job as Phil Howard. Like, is that beautiful, almost BoJack Horseman-esque sad sack kind of vibe.
Well, when I was originally brought onto the podcast, I was told a cross between Zach Brannigan and Matt Berry, and I had to, sadly, tone down my Matt Berry.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Matt Berry, he's a bit like Chili Pepper, in the minute you add him to any recipe, he kind of blows everything else out the water.
Yeah. You and he were buddies, weren't you?
The most devious bastard in New York City.
Father!
Oh, here we...
Yes.
We, as a podcast, would like to apologise for Matt Berry for the awful impressions we've just done of him.
I do think we were very lucky to get such great actors and performers into the show, though. I mean, I'm still blown away that we were able to get these people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, them, and actually the bands thus far have been, well, the one we've had has been absolutely fantastic. The Amber Lens, and is it Spectral Machines? I hope I'm getting that right. But yeah, Spectral Machines as a song just blew me away the moment I heard it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we're looking forward to having some more bands on the show. Is there anyone else that is coming up that you're excited about, or is there...
We've got Hurly Burly for the second episode, which they've got Antisocial Media as the song they're putting in, which I like. Little sort of behind the scenes. When I'm looking for the bands, I'm literally just scrolling down my Instagram feed, and it's throwing up sort of indie bands to me, and then I just bother them until one of them gets involved. But like curation wise, finding Hurly Burly, that which is so much fun. Because they're cowpunk, which is a cross between like traditional punk with country and western, and you never think those genres are gonna fit, but they bloody do. Just enormous fun. So yeah, they're in for the second episode and are really, really cool.
And the other thing that's been striking about the production, I think, is the artwork that you've managed to get for the Phil Howard Late Show. Can you tell us a little bit about who provides that and how you get the artwork?
Yes, what makes the visual style of the show what it is thanks to the incredible graphic designer and my friend Matthew Robinson. Or I think he wants to be credited as... Is it just graphic designer?
It is graphic designer. No, we've got to be really serious about this, right? Because he was specific. It is graphic designer Matthew Robinson.
Yes. Yeah. Many thanks to graphic designer Matthew Robinson for genuinely his outstanding stuff. I've known him for a good few years. It was great to get him on and for him to sort of share his talents with the show.
Yeah, I really think he needs to see someone. Because that
yeah, because I think, didn't you say that one of them was too scary to use, which is a sign of an excellent horror graphic designer? God
damn! Like so it's the poster with the radio on it that looks like an Iron Maiden album cover. The skeletal hands and like the teeth in the radio grill and all that kind of stuff. And there was one he sent over which just had eyes in the radio grill, and I remember looking at that, and I don't know, I think it unlocked tryptophobia in me, just staring at it for too long. And I was sitting, it might also have been because I'd been writing beforehand, and I was in that sort of like semi, like when you've been writing for a while and you're still sort of in the world you're in the middle of, and I was just like came off, looked at that, and went, nope, I'm done for the day. But yeah, the one we went with in the end was teeth, because teeth are always fun.
Well, I'm glad you brought up
less scarier than eyes.
I was trying to do a segue.
Wait a minute, hang on. We've got to have silence so Chris can do his segue. Okay, ready? Dylan, you make sure you're ready, okay?
No, I'm glad you brought up writing there. So, in terms of the writing of the episodes, where did this idea come from, and what goes into writing an episode?
Well, it was actually inspired by an episode of My Little Pony. No, I can't. Actually, the weird thing is, I have written for an online fan series of My Little Pony before. I did one 2-parter episode for a crossover between My Little Pony and Doctor Who, and my takeaway from that was the research of My Little Pony, which for some reason has like the deepest, most incredible fantasy lore I've seen. What the hell the production team were thinking when they made that? I've got no idea. But yeah,
more importantly, what is your favourite My Little Pony to write for? That was my next burning question.
Well, it's obviously Doctor Who's.
Hey, was that in the Doctor Who?
That is actually the title of the show. Hey man, the puns are always good.
Enough to take a look at it.
But yeah, no, the actual like inspiration for it was just a deep-seated love of things like the X-Files, SCP, which is Special Containment Procedures, for those who are not familiar. I love Gravity Falls. I think I've done a social media post on how much I love Gravity Falls, which if you look through the episodes and you notice any like codes or secrets or hidden messages things, 100% inspired by that. And yeah, like not Doctor Who, which I think Chris is going to find surprising, because I am a huge Doctor Who fan.
Extremely surprised by that. And you've written for Doctor Who previously?
Not for anything like official.
In an unofficial capacity, sorry.
Yeah, no, I've done like quite a few sort of fan audio scripts for Doctor Who, and a sort of series which we're toying with putting out for charity, but I'm not going to give you too many details on that. But yeah, it's a long-standing love affair, that one. But yeah, I mean, Dylan, do you watch much Doctor Who?
Not a lot, definitely not as much. I'm sure you've watched all of them, probably, haven't you?
Not all 50 years.
I can just picture you just sitting, just in your room alone, just watching every episode.
Are you only missing the ones that have been permanently destroyed by being thrown out by the BBC?
I've seen like quite a few of the classic ones. I've certainly seen like. This is a thing I think that kind of has escaped the general consciousness, but like Douglas Adams wrote a ton of Doctor Who in like the 70s. I think he was mostly the Tom Baker stuff. He's got those scripts have got Douglas Adams like signature humour all over them, and they're fantastic. But yeah, like
I've seen all of New Who, but I haven't really watched much of the classics.
Oh, you didn't get on with New Who, did you?
I love the Christopher Eccleston series, but even David Tennant, I think, my issues with some of the scripts and some of his acting. Actually, I didn't think it quite worked for me.
Chris would like to point out he has nothing personal against David Tennant.
Absolutely not. David Tennant is an excellent actor.
I actually didn't mind.
I just think
David Tennant ones.
He chewed the scenery a bit too much, and my big problem is that every Doctor subsequent was an imitation of David Tennant's Doctor.
Except for Peter Capaldi, who was kind of his own grumpy thing.
Nah.
Oh. Bone of contention.
But so in terms of writing this episode in particular, how long did it take? Were there any inspirations for this particular the topic of the episode, earworms?
So like, I don't know. I there was like one kind of inspiration for the idea came from listening to a song by a band called The Axis of Awesome called It's just called Four Chords. Look it up on YouTube. Fantastic live performance on there. But it's this idea that you can take the chords from Pachelbel's Canon and just turn them into any pop song because they're all based around the same chord structure. And I just love that sort of like almost cosmic horror vibe that you get from realizing that music is actually far bigger than us, and basically applies its own sort of almost mathematical rules behind the scenes that we're not quite aware of, but they still work for us. And just the idea of things that could sense that and then could make you sense that and use it to control you without you realizing. That was the kind of germ of the idea. And then, obviously parasites from there were a natural progression, and worms are just horrifying parasites. And then, living in the ear canal made sense because they were listening for sounds. And from that I was like, worms that live in your ear. Earworms. Pun, because I love puns.
And was, obviously you wrote the episode and were part of the production of it. Was there anything in the episode that you felt came out even better, or things that surprised you about the production compared to when you made it, when you actually got around to listening to the final production?
So, like, one of the things I keep saying is, it's with there's this old saying which is no plan survives contact with the enemy, which I think Mike Tyson actually did a version of, which is everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. I
like that one more.
Well, my version of that is everyone has a script until an actor hits the script. Because it's always really interesting to see people read what you've made and come up with their own interpretations of it, which I think... I know, Dylan, you love that in movies when people ad-lib and make characters their own.
Yes, big fan. And I think there was a bit of ad-libbing in the first episode.
Chris was all over the place.
Certainly on my end. Yeah. I probably expect to ad-lib even more as Phil Howard as I grow more into the role.
I think I'm not going to bother writing them eventually. But yeah, there were a couple of lines that did get shifted about by the actors, and a couple of reads that were like reads that I didn't think of in that way. Like the takes on the words that were different than the original intention, that were like way better than what I'd had in mind. Which, I think I've written about this before, because I keep doing these little like posts on social media where I just talk about like random thoughts, and like one of the best bits of doing this kind of thing is that it's collaborative, and people will look at things and come up with new ideas and throw new stuff in, which I don't know, Chris, because you're a huge fan of like sort of TV series and things. What do you think's better, when you have like one writer behind something, or where you have like a writer's room?
I think I do prefer a singular writer, because I think having a it does depend on the show, but I think generally speaking it works better to have one writer, because some of the arcs become a problem when you're writing it over with so many different people having a look at it, at the same material. So that would probably be my preference, but I'd have to look at it show by show,
See, I'm just sort of thinking about like because throwing it out to actors and like writers' rooms are the way that Americans tend to do quite a lot of the way that the stuff that they put together. And I think, because like, for instance, Breaking Bad, I think used a writer's room. Game of Thrones, for its opening seasons, did, I think. I'd need to double check that one. But like, it just seems like whenever there's a writer's room, the issue that you can have with a single writer is that they wind up getting too wound up in their own stuff, and they don't have anyone to say no to them.
That is true, and we have seen that, as you said, with Doctor Who, somebody like Stephen Moffat, writing individual episodes. It was when he was at his best, but his bad habits, in my personal opinion, in terms of writing, became a big problem. Especially as an ascended fan, he had some of the problems where he was so in love with some of the ideas he came up with, and probably been thinking about them for a very long time, that he couldn't see some of the flaws with those ideas. Yeah,
it's something I kind of wanted to avoid with this. It was the idea that like this was my baby, and the stuff that I put down on the page was gospel. I want actors to play with the tools and the toys almost that I'm giving them, and see if they can find something that's better than what's on the page.
Yeah, and that is I think that's a massive thing.
As you said, the script almost like changes because of that. The script you give them at the end of the recording session isn't the same script by the end,
No, definitely. I mean, I've to start giving people writers' credits eventually, but like it's Yeah, I always think of like scripts, plays, TV, like whatever you're doing. If you're working with actors, it is a collaborative work. It is not prescriptive.
And are there any writers that you would say have influenced you, particularly in terms of the way that you write scripts?
I mean, we go into people's favourites, can't we? Like, I actually, I've got two right off the bat. You'll notice that the lead announcer is called Stephen Carpenter. That is a mix of Stephen King and John Carpenter.
Very good.
Yeah, two of my favourites. Like Stephen King, just for the imagination on display. Because, dear God, how did he write that many books?
Coke. Spoilers, spoilers, it was cocaine.
I actually got banned off of Instagram for making that joke.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah, like I had
a joke. I'm just saying, according to Stephen King, he had a coke problem.
Yeah,
Around the same time he was most prolific.
The comment that got removed was that someone was saying, "Hey, any writers out there? Can you tell me how to stay awake and keep myself working through writer's block?" And my response to it was, "Well, Stephen King would recommend cocaine, but I'd probably go with coffee to start with." And that got removed by Instagram. But influence-wise.
Cancel culture. You can't say anything these days.
Yeah, like Stephen King, definitely. All of the X-Files writers, because that show basically became the blueprint for every fantasy or sci-fi show in American TV in the years that followed it, because it was just so good. Twilight Zone, which I know, Dylan, you're a massive fan of, aren't you?
Yes, love me some Twilight Zone. I actually took part in it's like a fan twist remake thing of Twilight Zone, where they basically made their own Twilight Zone, so they got a whole bunch of different filmmakers from around the world to come together to create like a segment, and I made 2 films for that. One, A Day in the Life of Dracula, which is like a mockumentary comedy thing, just sort of going over what a day in the life of Dracula would look like, who originated in Ireland, by the way. Dracula did.
Bram Stoker.
And then another short, Me and My Shadow, which is about a guy that sell a house, but the house has a ghost in it.
We're probably all, in some ways, fans of horror. So, are there any particular horror movies that you guys are big fans of?
Go on, Dylan.
Nobody likes horror movies.
I was gonna let you go first, but
no, because once I get started, we'll be here for a half hour.
Yeah, it'll be easy to cut him off when he's
literally. But yeah, as I said, we're all big fans of the genre, obviously, and some standouts for me. I'm a sort of classic head, so I've got to go with Jaws, your Silence of the Lambs, your Creep, which is an incredible found footage film about a videographer, so it hits me right home. 28 Days Later, all that stuff, sort of psychological horror, all that stuff that I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
Tommy, what about you?
I like a little bit more fantastical horror. Like I do love the first 2 Hellraisers. No, all the Hellraisers. I love all the Hellraisers. They're beautifully camp. But yeah, I love the idea of the other. I love the idea of the other world in that. I do love Oculus, which is a smaller movie about a cursed mirror that stars Karen Gillan in it. That's a really cool one. Horror TV show The Haunting of Hill House. If anyone ever has, that's a fantastic thing.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, Midnight Mass as well, by the same guy, same director. Fantastic stuff. But like, what was the? Oh god, there was another one as well. That I was, specific to this, right? The Wicker Man.
Great film. The original, of course.
Yeah. No, I meant that. I meant the timeless classic with Nicolas Cage in it. Where
I love the part where he dresses in a bear suit and punches a woman. It's so good.
Yeah. Do you know that I found this out recently? But you know the famous. The bees, they're in my eyes.
Not the bees.
Yeah,
not the bees.
That's not actually in the theatrical cut of the movie.
Oh, really? Oh, people are missing out.
That's an extra scene. That's the director's cut.
It's the most famous part of the movie. And therefore the best part of the movie.
I don't know, the bear punch is pretty funny. Just for the way that the sound completely cuts out when he does his little run across. Sorry, but yeah, no, that's my 2 cents. Chris, have you got any?
Well, I'm a big fan of Black Mirror. I think Charlie Brooker did an incredible job of updating that kind of anthology horror series. There's so many great individual stories there. Personally, my favourite is an episode called Nosedive, because I think it hits upon that kind of Chinese social credit score, censorship kind of thing. And in some ways, I guess we are all kind of being slaves to that kind of algorithm, and I think it really touches upon that in an interesting way.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I know it's sort of only bordering on the edge of horror and maybe a bit more psychological thriller, but Pan's Labyrinth, I think, stuff like The Pale Man, I think is incredible, creepy, and I think there's a sort of moral lesson in that where she ignores some of the advice, and the consequences of that are really interesting. And I love the way that it kind of makes you question the reality of the movie. Stuff like that I think is really, really good.
I also love the way that because it's Franco, isn't it? Have I got that right? The fascist regime that it's set in the middle of.
You may be correct. I'm afraid I'm not as...
okay, apologies to...
Spanish Civil... For some reason I thought it was the Spanish Civil War.
Yeah. Well, apologies to, any Spanish historians or...
Apologies
Spanish
to anyone.
People. Yeah, if I get this wrong. But it is Spanish fascism that it's set in the middle of. And it's kind of... It's a really interesting parallel that's drawn, that the creatures that the girl sees in it are less terrifying than the humans that she's encountering in her day-to-day life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which, I always find a really interesting theme for, horror, and particularly supernatural horror as well. There's this movie, one of my favourites from recent times. It's not a horror movie, but Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys seen that one?
I haven't, but I'm aware of the concept.
I recommend the hell out of it, because it's so terrifying. It's always terrifying whenever you see 1930s through 40s Germany from the inside, right?
Yes.
Schindler's List, any of the other sort of Boy in the Striped Pajamas, they're always terrifying because the humans in them are terrifying. But Jojo makes it slightly surreal in a weird way. The weirdest thing about it is that all of the characters in it are slightly caricatures, but knowing the history, they're not they're not as far off as they seem to be. And
the other one that I recently saw, Weapons, and I was a huge fan of Weapons, which again has horror elements, has thriller elements, has some comedy elements as well. But it is a film which I would recommend everybody see, but go in knowing as little as possible, because one of the things that really impressed me about it was how surprising the movie was.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it, so don't ruin it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, we're only here to spoil episode 1 of the Phil Howard Late Show.
Yes, in 1.5.
Which hopefully you all have seen at home.
Yes, and if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. Guys, come on.
We're not starting this podcast again until you guys have all gone and listened to it.
Speaking of the podcast, actually, I do have a few announcements. We have got a little bit of a what's up next for you. Obviously, we've got episode 2 coming up, which features Hurly Burly and Antisocial Media, their song. I'm not going to spoil too much of what goes into that. I'll just say it's going to be a lot of fun. I've heard my parts in it, but the actors involved, just phenomenal stuff again. But we'll go over that when we get to 2.5. Also coming up, we have the Umbral Files will be releasing soon. Those are premium Patreon rewards, and they are essentially cold cases from The Watch. It's a PDF file that you open up, and you get a bunch of information laid out in a fairly entertaining manner, I hope. A bit like the Book of Bill or Journal 3 for any Gravity Falls fans out there. It tells a story through interviews and pictures of what happened on the ground. And then the idea is you can either read it as a story, or you can attempt to actually solve the cold case with the clues that are in the pictures and the pieces of text. So it's like a murder mystery game in and of itself. So you can get those through the Patreon, or if you are the first person to solve the watch codes that I've been putting out, you get the first 12 months issues of those totally free. So I mentioned we've already had Hurly Burly come in for episode 2, but if there are any other bands out there who'd like to have their music featured on the podcast, just get in touch with us and let us know. We're approachable through all our social media sites, or there is an email on those social media sites and my website that you can get in touch through. Likewise, if there are any reviewers who would like to take a screening of the podcast, maybe hear it ahead of time,
Tell us how awful we are.
Yes, we do appreciate the feedback on how awful we are. Dylan is constantly buoying my self-esteem, and that needs to be taken down a peg or two. But yeah, if you do want to review the podcast, please let us know, because we will post your review on social media. If it's nice, be nice. But yeah, that's about it for the shout out, so I will turn you back over to Chris.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all of you who've listened to this. We look forward to joining you again very shortly. This is Not the Phil Howard Late Show, and farewell and sweet dreams.